Hey, hey, hey. Episode 17. I'm Chester. No. I'm Hell22 here with Murmaider.
You had me going.
I fooled ya. We are back again for another round of metal nonsense, which is all this really is anyway. So we had some awesome stuff going on this week, right?
Yep. We had a couple new reviews. You had a review on Morito, Ergo, right?
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Yep, and that might be a struggle to say, but this is a band that I am impressed by. It's kind of traditional doom in the vein of My Dying Bride. They're from Sweden. Now, the name of the band, Morito, Ergo, Sum, is Latin and translates to I die, therefore I am, which, coincidentally, is the name of this disc. It's kind of an EP/demo. It's only 3 songs, one of which is kind of just noise, but the other 2 are really good. I mean, if you're into My Dying Bride, this is definitely a band you got to check out. This came out last year, and they're actually in the process of recording their new album right now, complete. I guess the EP didn't have any solos, no real intricate guitar work. It was just kind of the traditional doom distortion, but the new album has a couple little solos built in, and really looking forward to hearing that. So definitely check it out.
What kind of vocals is it?
It's just like My Dying Bride,
Just-
kind of
okay.
depressive, melodic but depressive vocals.
Yeah.
Definitely a good listen.
Cool.
Now, Murmaider,
Yeah.
you're a fan of Iced Earth, which led you to review Sons of Liberty?
Yes.
Yes!
The album that I reviewed was Brush Fires of the Mind. And, well, when we saw them live, when we saw Iced Earth live, and he kind of opened for himself, Jon Schaffer, they blew me away. That the performance was great. The bass was had the whole place shaking. And basically this project of his it's just a solo project of Jon Schaffer, and he's all about anti-government and how the governments are corrupted and how we have to stand together and fight as one and all this stuff. And he's preaching, but it's interesting stuff to listen to. But the music is awesome, and it sounds very similar to Iced Earth. There's a song called Jekyll's Island on there. It's the first song on the album, and it's really good. The refrain is really catchy, and it has Iced Earth written all over it. But it's good. I like it.
The one thing I have to say about the album is that unlike in Iced Earth, where Matt Barlow does vocals and he had Ripper Owens do vocals, Jon Schaffer does all the vocals for Sons of Liberty because it's his band and all.
Right.
And he's not bad.
No, he's
not. It's not bad. And it really does sound like Iced Earth. It's like the political version of Iced Earth.
Yeah, yep.
But it's a good album. Now, I didn't like it as much as you did.
Yeah.
But definitely Jekyll Island is a fantastic song. That'll be one you'll get stuck in your head for days.
Yeah, definitely. Now you did another one this past week. Svartsot is the name of the band, right?
Yep, Svartsot. They're from Denmark. Their latest album just came out. It's called Maledictus Eris. They're in the vein of heavy. It's heavy folk. It's folk, but it's a little. I would put it a little bit heavier than El-Wadi. Not quite as heavy as Insafira, maybe, but a lot of the grunting, screaming folk. Really low growls. What really struck me about the album that I really liked is all the folk instrumentals that are in it. They got some whistles, some pipes, but they play a great mandolin. And it's amazing to hear a mandolin, intertwined with distorted, chugging guitars. It's so funny. It just didn't seem like it should work, but it really did.
Yeah.
This is a band that they're new in the sense that they haven't been around all that long, but they're gaining experience, and I really think that the vein of folk, you really can't go wrong. If you play just strong music, then you're gonna make it. So
Yeah.
Definitely check out the album. It's definitely a cool one. Cool one.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, now speaking of interesting, Murmaider, we had an interesting conversation yesterday.
Yes, we did. Hell22 and we had a conversation with a gentleman in our store who brought up how he hasn't heard an album in a long time that is amazing front to back.
Now the conversation was in relation to the new Jay-Z Kanye West album, Watch the Throne.
Right.
Which we won't be reviewing here. But yeah, he was saying that it's always one good song or it's the single, but he hasn't heard a good album front to back in years.
and he asked Hell22 if when's the last time he's heard of an album that he liked from front to back, and I turned and looked at you and laughed, and you were like, all the time, like,
Yeah.
we listen to them all the time, like, where are you, man?
I don't really think he knew what he was asking us in the end. Obviously, we don't advertise that we do this, but, we digest so much music, but I would say 3/4 of the albums that we've reviewed and listened to are good from front to back.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a single a metal album. Now, I'm not talking like new metal or punk or whatever. I mean a real traditional metal album that I pick out one song that I like, and that's all I listen to.
Yeah, and didn't like the rest.
Yeah, because as we were talking about, there are no singles in metal.
Right.
They might call something a single.
Yeah, the first release song off the track they consider, a single, but...
Yeah, but it's not on the radio.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's not like a hit that'll separate itself from anything else. But I just find that interesting that, it's like that for metal as opposed to, I guess, mainstream music like rap and pop and your basic alternative rock and roll.
Even country now. Because country right now isn't even the country anymore. It's more southern pop.
Absolutely. And you get so many people that come in and ask for singles because they just want the one song, and then when you say, oh no, all we have is the CD, they kind of shake their head like, I don't really want to buy the whole CD because I'm only going to like one or two songs off it. And it's like, we never have that problem with metal.
No. You never see anyone coming in asking for a single of the new El-Wady. It doesn't happen.
That would be really weird.
Yeah, and the bands that do get to that point kind of are bending the genre. We were just talking about Mastodon actually,
right.
And how the first single from the album was just released, "Curl of the Burl,"
yep.
And how there's a chance that this is actually going to see mainstream play because of Crack the Sky in their past.
Yeah.
But on the whole, a single just does not compute.
Yeah.
But he was speaking specifically about hip hop albums.
Yeah.
So, when I said, look, we listen to great albums all the time, he was kind of like, no, like hip-hop. To which I replied, I haven't listened to, a hip-hop album front to back in probably 10 years, which turned out to be false. It's actually 5 years or 6 years or something. It was Danger Doom.
Good old Danger Doom.
Yeah, a little Danger Doom. But yeah, so it kind of got us thinking about how metal is so different in that aspect, that there's just not... I mean, you buy a metal album because you want it to be good front to back.
Yeah.
You don't care about the single. Even if there is a single and it's on the radio, that doesn't matter.
Yeah. And now, that confuses me on the issue of... You would think if metal fans want the full album versus your average person that listens to radio music that just wants to buy the single... I think it's so weird that, yet these stars are still making so much more money, Kanye West and Jay-Z, even if people are just downloading that one song. You know what I mean? As opposed to metal fans that they go out and really try to support the bands and buy the full-length album, and yet still...
I think it's all in volume, though, isn't it? I mean, you think... Symphony X, I would say, is a pretty big band. Mm-hmm. They're pretty popular, but... When their new album came out, they sold, I want to say it was like right around 1,000 copies, 900 copies first week. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, we had about 1,000 people pay full price for a CD, but if Kanye West and Jay-Z put out a single and 2 million people pay $1 for it, right, you're still going to make infinitely more money.
Yeah.
Which I guess is part of the problem. But that's, this whole thing of album versus single comes back to the music itself and the labels and what their goal is. Because, we've talked before that metal labels, obviously they want to make money, it's a business, but they don't expect the new Draconian to sell 100,000 first week. It's just not going to happen. So I think they're more realistic. So, whereas the hip-hop labels, when Eminem releases a new album, if he doesn't break 1 million in the first month, it's a failure.
Yeah.
So
right.
So they have to have that single, or 2 singles, or 3 singles. That's the other thing. Sorry to get sidetracked here, but it's so funny that bands, singers, artists now put out so many singles from each album. How many singles are off that damn Katy Perry album? She's put out like 6 from that one album. That's half the album.
Yep. And another thing they're doing is they're putting the one hit single on a couple different albums. The song "Forever" from it was like Drake and Lil Wayne and Eminem.
Oh
and
yeah.
Kanye West. It was actually on a soundtrack to some basketball movie or something.
More Than a Game.
More Than a Game. Yep. And then it was on Eminem's re-released edition of whatever CD that was out at the time.
Yeah.
And then it was also on Drake's album, I think.
Yeah, and maybe they changed one thing about it or whatever. Look at the Jay-Z song with Alicia Keys, the New York song. It was on Jay-Z's album, and then it was also on Alicia Keys' album.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you're trying to get more people to buy into it. But metal, you don't see that. That doesn't happen. Because also metal collaborations are not...
Right.
Opeth doesn't get together with Mastodon and do a track for a benefit album or something.
Right. Once in a while, you'll get like a specific guy from a band featured somewhere in a song, but even that is very rare in the metal scene.
Yeah, features are not big, and once you get into the idea of features, then usually you're kind of treading off of the path of metal and into like that hardcore and new metal kind of thing. Like A Day to Remember would be a band that might have a feature on it, but
one thing that I was kind of surprised about that I noticed was even country used to not really do features with other country singers, and now I feel like I was looking at a couple CDs and like almost every song now it looked like a hip hop album.
Yeah.
Where it was every song had someone else featured on it. And I don't know, it was just weird. I know they did it once in a while, but the albums I was looking at, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm looking at a Rick Ross CD.
But isn't that kind of an indication as to where so many genres are going? Where you can't just buy an album because you like the artist, you have to buy an album because Sugarland had Jason Aldean on a song. Like you shouldn't have to do that.
Right.
Like think about some of our favorite albums. The one that comes to mind was the latest Catatonia album, Night Is the New Day. They had a feature on it, Krister Linder.
Oh, that's right.
He does ambient dance style music or ambient. I would just call it ambient.
Yeah, it's just ambient.
So he's not a metal singer. He's just, but they did that song and it was so awesome. But it was like bending the genre. But you don't need. Catatonia doesn't need to have Michael from Opeth on a song to sell albums. It's just not the way it works.
Yeah.
And you're buying an album. We're excited about the new Mastodon album because Mastodon plays the album.
Yeah, it's Mastodon.
I don't need Mastodon to have special guest guy from Stradivarius or something.
Yeah, I'm only gonna buy it if some guy from Ed Guy is on it.
Yeah, if Tobias Sammet is on every album this year, I'll buy them all. But still, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just another difference between the metal world